What's up, my fellow Cinehorde viewers? This is Captain Gimpy, of course, coming to you with another movie review, and today's is kind of special for two reasons. First of all, I'm actually shooting the video for this before I even finish the written review, and this is part of a long-term project for me to go through all of the movies that Roger Ebert included in his four-volume, I'm going to call it a four-volume anthology of reviews titled The Great Movies. I will be going through the entire list. I have no idea when I'm going to be done, but I know for me this is probably going to be more like a lifelong project than something that I've set a deadline for. And it's a personal project for me because those of you who know me in person know that I've pretty much always been a Roger Ebert fan as soon as I was aware of film as an art form from probably about age 5. So, I want to kick this off with a movie called The Ballad of Narayama. It's a film directed by a dude named Kensuke Kinoshita, and it came out in 1958. It is a movie about a family that lives in a small village in the Shinano Mountains of Japan, and they have what's called the Obon Festival, which is like, think of it as like the Japanese equivalent to Day of the Dead. It's culturally different, but that's the easiest parallel to draw. And Orin is the matriarch of this family in the village, and she's getting ready to take her final journey to a place called Narayama. Narayama is supposed to be this magical place that old people go to basically ascend life and what's the word I'm looking for? Not transfigure, transport themselves from life into death. Right? It's basically the gateway to the afterlife, and that's how the movie informs you about the journey to Narayama. Let's check out this handy dandy phone because it's going to tell me things, because there is a lot here. The movie stars, let me see. The movie stars a dude named Teiji Takahashi and Yuko Mochizuki plays his new wife. So basically what we get when we open the film is this dude's wife has just died, and his mother, given that she's going to take her final journey to this magical place, is trying to set up her son with another wife, and her husband just died 3 days prior, had the funeral, and she was sent to this village in sort of an arranged marriage type of thing. They are both 45 years old. The mother's super happy because now she has someone to take care of her son. And for me, this movie is a standout film for a few reasons. First of all, the acting is it's a hybrid between old-time stage acting and modern acting for the camera. You have this nice intersection of two very different crafts, stage and screen. And the film takes the form of a kabuki play, which means that it's like an old-style Japanese musical. And the village is currently celebrating the Obon Festival, which is basically the Japanese cultural equivalent to Dia de los Muertos. And it's because of this that the matriarch of the family, her name is Orin, is making all these arrangements because she's supposed to make that passage into the afterlife, this magical place at the top of the mountain, that year. And that doesn't happen for a few reasons. One, because she has to get her new daughter-in-law acclimated to the family. Two, because her son is having difficulty letting go. And her grandson's an asshole. Her grandson's name is Kesa. and he actually urges her to hurry up with it already. She's taking too long. Admittedly, I had to watch this film twice because the first time I watched it, I had some difficulties with it because there are some cultural differences that I wasn't even aware of. In this fictional setting, the journey to Narayama is supposed to be taken by all of the villagers who reach age 70. Someone is supposed to carry them on their back up the mountain. So, this movie is really about what life means, what it means to die well, and what it means to be the bearer of a tradition that has lasted for ages. Let me unpack some of that. So, what I mean by this movie is it's quite literally about death. And what does it mean to live well? So, the thing about the matriarch is she is hell bent on conforming to society's idea of what it means to die well. And we don't think about that often in this country. We have an obsession with staying young and vital for as long as humanly possible, to the point where I sometimes feel like we prolong the suffering of our loved ones because we have a very fixed idea of what it means to preserve life. Rather than thinking about the quality of life, we tend to think about the length of time someone has been on the planet. And she is getting teased because she still has all 28 of her teeth. And her idiot asshole grandchild basically starts a song that teases her for having 23 demon teeth. And so when we first meet her, the matriarch of the family, she's trying to bite down on a barrel or something and basically remove as many teeth as she can before she makes her final passage, because to her, keeping those teeth is a sign of her vanity and greed, because she thinks that it makes her seem as though she eats as much as a young woman does. And in a small village like this one, to the people that live there, resources are everything. So, the dude stops it. The messenger from her old village stops it because he arrives right when she's about to do it. And they make this arrangement for his brother's wife, who is the brother's now deceased, to marry her son, who's also 45 years old. She agrees, she makes her way to the village, she begins to bond with the family, and there's this funny scene near the beginning of the film where, what is his name? Tatsuhei is her son's name. And he throws this tantrum about this new woman being there eating their freshly cooked white rice because for them it's a once a year treat for this festival, and she's just gorging herself on it. But what he doesn't realize is that his mother gave her permission to eat as much as she wanted because she came to the village without eating breakfast because the people in her hometown were talking about the legendary kindness of this elderly woman, Orin, who came from their village. So they hasten her departure from her old village to the new, and she's gorging herself on this white rice, and the mother's son is throwing this absolute tantrum over white rice. As the family bonds, I think Yama is her name, I can't remember exactly. Oh no, it's, what is it? Tama, that's her name. Oren shows her this secret fishing spot for catching trout, and it's hilarious because there's this natural rock formation that's hidden where if you put your hands in a certain place, fish will basically crawl into them and you can grab them and throw them in the bucket and just let them, gasp for air until they're gone. And she's like, no one's as good as me at it because I discovered this secret spot. I thought it was really cool. Stylistically, this movie is as beautiful as Roger Ebert says it is. it uses painted backdrops, stage lighting, camera placement, and color all to great effect, along with the kabuki narration. Um, it gives the film this quality of sort of a moving painting, and it's really amazing. For modern movie viewers, the only thing that I would say about it that might be a strike against it is it's very slow to develop by modern standards of pacing. But that being said, if you can sit down and really absorb its message, I think it's really worth it. As I mentioned before, there's a tradition of leaving the elderly at the top of a mountain because they're supposed to go to a magical place. Now, after viewing it a second time, I'm not so sure any of the villagers actually believe that nonsense, but that's what they keep telling each other so that they have the balls to go up the mountain and live out their last days so they don't consume resources from the village. There is an elderly man that is a year older than Oren who is named Mata, and he's been neighbors with Oren for most of their lives. She mentions this early on in the film, and he refuses to take his trip up the mountain. And after thinking about it for a long time, I think he has a reason. I think he's one of the few people who know what the journey to Narayama is, and I think it scared the crap out of him, and I think he refuses to go for that reason. The whole point of the journey is that the person's supposed to leave the earth before their great-grandchildren arrive. Like, that's the thing. And it was funny for me because growing up in an Asian house, I always really enjoyed the fact that we had an intergenerational household. And here I am watching this old woman saying, no, I'm supposed to die now. So for me, it kind of struck me wrong. There are 3 rules to the journey that are supposed to maintain the ritual and the level of secrecy required to keep it going. And those 3 rules are, give me 1 second. You must not speak once you enter Mount Narayama. The second rule is no one is allowed to see you leaving from your house on your journey to Narayama. And third is you are not allowed to look back once you leave the mountain. Now, Tatsuhei breaks all of those rules. He screams and pleads with his mother not to do this, telling her that she's extremely fortunate because everything happened like it said, or like she predicted, that it wouldn't snow until she reached the mountain. This must mean that she was blessed. Please don't do this. He has a really hard time, and that's what this movie is really about. It's about the difficulty of making the passage from life into death and the people you leave behind. Now, the reason why I said it's about bearing the weight of the ritual is because, to me, Matsu and Tatsuhei are parallel characters. Matsu, the elderly man I mentioned who refuses to take the journey, probably is someone who knows what the journey is and refuses to live out the rest of his life that way and would rather spend the rest of his days with his family. Unfortunately for him, his family literally stops feeding him, hoping they would drive him away, and he eats Oren's spare food. That's how that ends up going. It's also about grief. It's also about human nature. I mean, there is a sequence in the film where Tama is learning how to fish from Oren, like I mentioned before, and the sky turns blood red, and these raiders come into the village, come to find out that they're actually members of the village and they belong to this family who's known for thieving. And I think, to me, this reminds me of a story like The Lottery, if you guys have ever read that. It's kind of sort of like the opening part of Hunger Games, where they draw the lottery to see who from the village will represent each section in the games. But in the lottery, the people who draw the short end of the stick basically just die. And it's for the sake of lessening the need for crime by preserving village resources and all of that. So, man, it's a deep film, and I definitely recommend watching it. I wish this video had been about 10 minutes shorter, and I'm sorry, this is going to be definitely different than my written review. If you're interested in reading the written review, you can find it down below, a more concise version of my thoughts on the movie. Please go check it out, and if you like my videos, if you like my blogu, go to cinehoardereview.wordpress.com or subscribe to my channel down below. I'm going to leave links to those Roger Ebert books in the description, and I'll see you at the movie.